Millionaire CEO finds girl in snowstorm, but what she whispers breaks his heart. Before we dive into this heart-wrenching story of unexpected connections, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. The blizzard hit Denver like a vengeful spirit, turning the December evening into a frozen nightmare. Nathan Crawford gripped the steering wheel of his Mercedes, the windshield wipers fighting a losing battle against the relentless snow. At 35, the successful CEO had weathered many storms in business, but Mother Nature was proving far more ruthless than any boardroom adversary. The city streets had become a treacherous maze of abandoned vehicles and swirling white chaos. Nathan squinted through the storm, his headlights barely penetrating the wall of snow ahead. He should have left the office hours ago, but the quarterly reports had demanded his attention. Now he was paying the price. As he navigated a particularly dangerous intersection, something caught his eye. A small figure huddled in a bus shelter, barely visible through the storm's fury. Nathan's heart skipped a beat. In this weather, being outside meant certain death. He pulled over immediately, his expensive shoes crunching through the snow as he approached the shelter. What he found there would haunt him forever. A little girl, no more than 8 years old, sat curled in a ball wearing nothing but thin pajamas and worn slippers. Her lips were blue, her small body trembling uncontrollably. "Hey there, sweetheart," Nathan called gently, kneeling beside her. "What are you doing out here?" The child's eyes wide with terror and something else, something that made Nathan's blood run cold, slowly focused on him. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper, carried away by the howling wind. They left me to die," she stammered through chattering teeth. "They don't have hearts, but I'm going to take you with me." Those words, spoken with such innocent conviction, sent chills down Nathan's spine that had nothing to do with the bitter cold. Without hesitation, he scooped the frozen child into his arms, feeling her tiny body like ice against his chest as he carried her to his car. One question burned in his mind: who could abandon a child to die in a blizzard, and what did she mean about taking him with her? The emergency room at Denver General blazed with fluorescent lights that seemed harsh after the storm's darkness. Nathan paced the waiting area, his expensive suit still damp from snow, while medical staff worked frantically on the little girl he'd found. The warmth of the hospital felt surreal after the frozen nightmare outside. "She's stable," Dr. Martinez announced, emerging from the treatment room. "Moderate hypothermia and dehydration, but we caught it in time. You saved her life." Nathan exhaled deeply, relief flooding through him. "Can I see her? She's asking for you specifically. Won't talk to anyone else, not even the social workers." Inside the pediatric room, the child sat propped against white pillows, looking impossibly small in the hospital gown. Her color had returned, but her eyes still held that haunting mixture of fear and determination. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Nathan asked gently, pulling a chair beside her bed. "Emily," she whispered, then looked around nervously. "Emily Patterson. But don't tell them where I am." "Who shouldn't I tell?" Emily's hands clenched the hospital blanket. "The monsters, they're not my real parents. Marcus and Helena, they do bad things with money. I heard them talking about making people disappear." Nathan felt his stomach tighten. What kind of bad things? Men in suits came to the house screaming yesterday. They had badges and papers. Marcus was burning stuff in the backyard, and Helena kept saying they needed to clean up loose ends. Emily's voice grew smaller. "I think I was a loose end." The social worker entered with a clipboard, but Emily immediately shrank back. "No, I won't go back to the house of monsters." "Emily," the woman said patiently, "the Blackwoods are worried sick about you. They reported you missing 6 hours ago. They left me to die." Emily's voice cracked. "They drove me to that bus stop and told me to wait. Then they drove away and never came back." Nathan's mind raced. This wasn't a simple runaway case. This child was describing potential criminal activity, possibly worse. The calculating look in Emily's eyes when she'd said she would take him with her suddenly made sense. She was looking for an ally, someone who could help her survive whatever nightmare she'd escaped from. "Emily," Nathan said carefully, "would you feel safer if I stayed with you tonight?" For the first time, Emily smiled, a heartbreaking expression of hope on such a young face. "Yes," she whispered, "but be careful. Once you help me, they'll come for you too." The morning sun struggled through the hospital windows, casting long shadows across Emily's room. Nathan had spent the night in an uncomfortable chair, watching over the sleeping child who'd somehow become his responsibility. When she finally stirred, her first instinct was to check if he was still there, gesture that broke his heart. "Mr. Crawford," a stern voice interrupted their quiet breakfast. Detective Lisa Rodriguez stood in the doorway, her badge gleaming under the fluorescent lights. "I need to speak with both of you about last night." Emily immediately tensed, her small fingers gripping Nathan's sleeve. "It's okay," he murmured reassuringly. "Just tell the truth." Emily Patterson, Detective Rodriguez began, consulting her notes. "You were reported missing by your legal guardians, Marcus and Helena Blackwood. They're very concerned about you." "They're not concerned," Emily shot back with surprising vehemence. "They wanted me gone. I heard Helena say it. The girl has seen too much. We need to dispose of her before anyone talks to her." The detective's eyebrows raised. She pulled out a notepad and some crayons. "Emily, can you draw me what you remember from that night?" What happened next chilled Nathan to the bone. Emily began drawing frantically numbers, names, crude sketches of men in suits. Her small hands moved with urgent precision as she recreated fragments of conversations she'd overheard. Cayman accounts, offshore transfers, Senator Williams knows, she muttered as she drew, her voice taking on an eerie, adult-like quality. Marcus said the FBI was getting close, that they needed to eliminate all evidence. But when Detective Rodriguez pressed for more details, Emily suddenly stopped drawing. Her face went pale, and she began trembling violently. "No more questions. They said if I ever talked, they'd make sure I disappeared forever." The child's breakdown was immediate and devastating. She curled into a ball, hyperventilating, completely unreachable, despite the detective's gentle attempts to calm her. "That's enough," Nathan declared, moving protectively closer to Emily's bed. "Can't you see she's traumatized?" Detective Rodriguez studied Nathan carefully. "Mr. Crawford, given your reputation in the business community and your unusual involvement in this case, Child Services is willing to consider temporary supervised custody while we investigate." "Emily clearly trusts you." "Supervised custody," Nathan repeated, the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. "The Blackwoods are demanding her return. But given Emily's allegations and the severity of her reaction, we need time to investigate properly. Would you be willing to provide temporary care?" Nathan looked down at Emily, who had stopped trembling, and was watching him with those impossibly wise eyes. In them, he saw not just hope, but a desperate plea for protection. "Yes," he said firmly, "I'll keep her safe." Emily reached for his hand, squeezing it with surprising strength. "Thank you," she whispered. "But remember what I told you once. You helped me. You're part of this now. There's no going back." Nathan's penthouse apartment felt different with Emily there. The sleek, modern space that had always reflected his bachelor lifestyle now seemed cold and unwelcoming for a traumatized He'd hastily bought children's clothes and toys, transforming his guest room into something resembling a safe haven. "Mr. Crawford," his longtime attorney, James Mitchell, said over the phone, "I've done some digging into this Blackwood situation. What I found is disturbing." Nathan stepped onto his balcony, keeping Emily in sight through the glass doors as she colored at his dining table. "What did you discover?" "The Hope Children Foundation that Marcus and Helena Blackwood operate. It's currently under federal investigation for money laundering. The FBI suspects they've been using fake charity donations to clean money for some very dangerous people." Nathan's grip tightened on the phone. "How dangerous?" "The kind that make people disappear." The foundation has received over $12 million in donations over the past 2 years, but less than 5% actually went to helping children. The rest vanished into a maze of offshore accounts. Through the glass, Nathan watched Emily carefully, arranging her crayons in perfect rows. A nervous habit he'd noticed. Her small face was focused, but he could see the tension in her shoulders. "There's more," James continued. "Emily wasn't just a foster child in their home. According to my sources, she lived there during crucial business meetings. The FBI believes she may have witnessed conversations that could bring down an entire criminal network." "My God," Nathan breathed. "That's why they tried to kill her, most likely." "Nathan, if the remaining players in this network discover Emily's location, both of you could be in serious danger." The Blackwoods were just the tip of the iceberg. Nathan's blood ran cold. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that little girl in your apartment isn't just a trauma victim. She's a walking time bomb. Everything she saw, everyone she can identify, Every conversation she overheard makes her the most valuable witness the FBI has ever had in a case like this. Emily looked up from her coloring and waved at Nathan through the glass. Her innocent smile was heartbreaking, especially knowing the weight of secrets she carried. The question is, James continued, are you prepared for what that means? Because once the criminal network realizes she's alive and talking, they'll stop at nothing to silence her permanently. Nathan watched Emily return to her careful coloring, completely unaware of the conversation that was sealing both their fates. James, I need you to contact the FBI immediately. Emily needs real protection, not just supervised custody. Already on it. Agent Sarah Chen from the Financial Crimes Unit wants to meet with you tomorrow. Nathan, be very careful who you trust from here on out. If this network is as extensive as I suspect, they have people everywhere. As Nathan ended the call, Emily appeared at the sliding door, her small hand pressed against the glass. Are you coming back inside? She asked, her voice muffled but clear. I drew you something. Nathan slid the door open and knelt to her level. What did you draw, sweetheart? Emily held up a picture of a tall man and a little girl holding hands, standing in front of a big house with a dog. It's us, she said simply. In the safe place we're going to find together. Nathan's throat tightened. This child had no idea that safety might be an impossible dream, or that by trying to protect her, he might have just painted a target on both their backs. 3 days had passed since Emily came into Nathan's life, and slowly, carefully, she began to open up. It started with small details: how Marcus always wore expensive watches, but never smiled. How Helena counted money at the kitchen table late at night. But tonight, as they sat by the fireplace, Emily's memories became much darker. Nathan, she said quietly, setting down her hot chocolate, I need to tell you about the night with the fire. Nathan muted the television and turned to face her completely. Take your time, sweetheart. Only what you're comfortable sharing. Emily stared into the flames, her young face shadowed with knowledge no child should possess. It was 3 weeks ago. I woke up because I heard shouting outside my window. Marcus was in the backyard with a big metal trash can, burning papers, lots and lots of papers. She paused, wrapping her small arms around herself. I crept to the window and watched. He was crying while he burned them. Marcus never cried, so I knew something was really wrong. What kind of papers were they? Nathan asked gently. Computer papers with numbers, bank papers, and photographs. Emily's voice dropped to a whisper. I saw my picture in one of them before it burned up. Nathan felt a chill run down his spine. Your picture, with other kids I'd never seen before. Under the pictures were numbers and dates. Emily looked up at Nathan with those unnaturally mature eyes. I think those kids are gone now. The weight of her words hit Nathan like a physical blow. This wasn't just money laundering, this was something far more sinister. That same night, Emily continued, I heard Helena on the phone downstairs. She was really angry, saying things like the girl has seen too much and we need to eliminate the evidence before they connect the dots. Emily stood up and walked to Nathan's bookshelf, running her finger along the spines. I knew they were talking about me because Helena kept looking up at the ceiling toward my room. That's when I started planning to run away. How did you finally escape? Nathan asked, though he dreaded the answer. 2 nights ago, when you found me, I was pretending to be asleep when they had their big fight. Helena was screaming at Marcus about loose ends, and how the federal investigation was getting too close. She said they needed to dispose of all evidence that night. Emily turned back to Nathan, her face pale but determined. Then we heard sirens getting closer to our neighborhood. Marcus panicked and said they needed to leave immediately. Helena said they should take me to the usual place and leave me there, the bus stop. Nathan realized. I waited until they were loading suitcases in their car. Then I climbed out my bedroom window and ran. I hid in some bushes and watched them drive away without even looking for me. They wanted me to freeze to death, Nathan. They wanted it to look like an accident. Emily climbed back onto the couch beside Nathan, curling up against his side. But I survived because I found you. And now I remember everything they tried to make disappear. Every name, every number, every bad thing they did. Nathan wrapped his arms around her protectively, feeling the full weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. This wasn't just about protecting one traumatized child. Emily was carrying evidence that could bring down dangerous criminals who would kill to keep their secrets buried. Emily, he said softly, Tomorrow we're going to talk to some very good people who can help make sure the bad guys never hurt anyone again. The FBI? She asked, not sounding surprised. How did you know? Emily smiled sadly. Because that's what happens next in stories like mine. The question is, will we both survive long enough to see the ending? The next morning brought an unexpected visitor. Nathan was making Emily breakfast when his doorman announced that an agent, Sarah Chen from the FBI, was requesting to see him immediately. Emily dropped her spoon into her cereal bowl, her face going pale. It's okay, Nathan assured her, though his own heart was racing. Remember what we talked about. These are the good people. Agent Chen was a sharp-featured woman in her 40s, with kind but determined eyes. She declined coffee and got straight to business, pulling out a tablet and several photographs. Mr. Crawford, Emily, I need to share some information that might be difficult to hear, but it's crucial you understand the full scope of what we're dealing with. Emily moved closer to Nathan on the couch, her small hand finding his arm. Marcus and Helena in jail? She asked quietly. Yes, they are, Agent Chen confirmed. But Emily, you disappeared before we could execute our search warrant. We've been searching for you for 3 days, not knowing if you were alive or they took me to die, Emily said matter-of-factly. They told me to wait at the bus stop and never came back. Agent Chen's expression darkened. Emily, we found documents in the Blackwood house that confirm your account. There were detailed plans to eliminate you before any federal interviews could take place. She turned the tablet toward them, showing official documents. The night you escaped, Emily, wasn't random. We had planned a coordinated raid on 12 properties connected to the Hope Children Foundation. The Blackwoods somehow received advance warning. Nathan felt his blood chill. A leak in the investigation. Possibly. But here's what's important. Millie, your disappearance actually saved your life. The raid was delayed when we couldn't locate you, and during that delay, we discovered the Blackwoods had accelerated their timeline to handle loose ends. Emily studied the agent's face carefully. You mean they were going to kill me that night anyway, even if I hadn't run? We believe so, yes. But your escape disrupted their entire operation. When they couldn't find you to complete their plan, they made mistakes. Crucial mistakes that led us to evidence we might never have found otherwise. Agent Chen pulled up crime scene photos on her tablet. We found a partially destroyed hard drive in their fireplace. Emily, it contained records of at least 15 other children who had been in similar situations to yours over the past 5 years. Emily's grip on Nathan's hand tightened. Kids in the pictures Marcus burned. Are they? We're investigating each case. But Emily, you may be the only surviving witness to how this network operated. Your memories, everything you saw and heard, could be the key to bringing justice for those other children. Nathan felt the enormous weight of responsibility settling over them both. What does this mean for Emily's safety? It means she's now officially under federal witness protection. But Mr. Crawford, there's something else you need to know. Agent Chen's expression grew even more serious. The Blackwood Foundation was connected to a much larger criminal network. People with significant resources and connections who are still free. Emily looked up at Nathan with those wise, sad eyes. I told you that once you helped me, you'd be part of this too. They know about you now, Nathan. They know you're the one who saved me. Agent Chen nodded grimly. Emily's right. By rescuing her and providing shelter, you've become a target as well. These people don't leave loose ends, Mr. Crawford. They tie them up permanently. The room fell silent, except for the distant sounds of Denver traffic far below. Nathan looked down at Emily, who was watching him with a mixture of gratitude and guilt. I'm sorry I brought danger to you, she whispered. But I'm not sorry you saved me. Nathan pulled her closer. I'm not sorry either, sweetheart. We're in this together now. But even as he spoke those brave words, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that their real troubles were just beginning. 2 weeks into their new routine under federal protection, Nathan was starting to believe they might actually find some normalcy. Emily was sleeping better, eating regularly, and had even laughed at a cartoon the night before. That fragile sense of security shattered when his doorman announced an unexpected visitor. Scarlett Morrison is here to see you, Mr. Crawford. Should I send her up? Nathan's blood ran cold. Scarlett, his ex-fiancée from 2 years ago. Their relationship had ended amicably when her career as a legal consultant took her to different cities, but her timing now seemed impossibly coincidental. Nathan, Emily looked up from her puzzle, sensing his tension. Who is it? Someone from my past, sweetheart. Why don't you continue with your puzzle while I talk to her? Scarlett looked exactly as Nathan remembered, elegant, poised, with platinum blonde hair and sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. She wore an expensive designer coat and carried herself with the confidence of someone accustomed to getting what she wanted. Nathan, darling, she said, embracing him warmly. I saw the news coverage about you caring for that missing child. I had to come check on you. News coverage. Nathan stepped back, alarmed. He'd specifically requested media blackouts for Emily's safety. Oh, just a small piece in the Denver Business Journal about prominent CEO involved in child welfare case. Nothing too detailed. Scarlett's eyes scanned the apartment, taking in the children's toys and books scattered around his formerly pristine space. Where is the little one? Emily appeared in the doorway, studying Scarlett with the same intense scrutiny she'd used on everyone else. But something was different about her reaction to Scarlett's wariness that seemed to go beyond her usual caution with strangers. Emily, this is Scarlett. She's an old friend, Nathan said carefully. Hello, Emily. Scarlett's voice took on a practiced sweetness. I've heard so much about you. You're much braver than most children your age. Emily didn't respond. Instead, moving closer to Nathan's side, her small hand slipped into his, and he felt her slight trembling. Actually, Nathan, Scarlett continued, settling onto his leather sofa as if she belonged there, I came because I'm concerned about you. This situation you've gotten yourself into, it's quite complex, isn't it? What do you mean? Nathan asked, though something in Scarlett's tone set off warning bells. Well, getting involved in federal investigations, caring for a traumatized child with no family experience, the potential legal ramifications. Scarlett's voice carried subtle concern, but her eyes remained calculating. I've been working as an independent legal consultant lately, and I've seen cases like this destroy well-meaning people. Emily tugged on Nathan's sleeve. Can I go color in my room? She asked quietly, not taking her eyes off Scarlett. Of course, sweetheart. As Emily disappeared down the hallway, Scarlett leaned forward conspiratorially. Nathan, that child has been through tremendous trauma. Are you sure you're equipped to handle something this serious? Sometimes the kindest thing is to let professionals take over. The professionals think Emily is safest here, under federal protection, Nathan replied carefully. Federal protection? Scarlett's eyebrows raised with what seemed like surprise. But Nathan caught a flicker of something else in her expressions, something that looked almost like satisfaction. Oh Nathan, you really have gotten yourself into deep waters. From down the hallway came the sound of Emily's door closing harder than necessary. Nathan realized the child had been listening to their conversation. Scarlett, I appreciate your concern, but Emily and I are managing just fine. Of course you are, she said smoothly, standing to leave. I just want you to know that if you need any legal advice or perspective on your options, I'm here. Sometimes an outside view can be invaluable. After Scarlett left, Nathan found Emily in her room, aggressively coloring a picture black. What did you think of Scarlett? He asked gently. Emily didn't look up from her paper. She asks the wrong questions. Nathan, and she smiles with her mouth but not her eyes, just like Helena used to do. That night, Nathan couldn't shake Emily's words. In all the chaos of the past weeks, he'd forgotten that Emily had developed an uncanny ability to read people, a survival skill learned in the most dangerous circumstances. Scarlett began visiting regularly, always with plausible excuses, groceries, checking on Nathan's well-being, or offering legal advice about his complicated situation. What troubled Nathan most was how smoothly she inserted herself back into his life, making her presence seem both natural and necessary. You look exhausted, darling, Scarlett observed during her third visit that week, settling into what had become her chair at his dining table. Caring for a traumatized child is a full-time job. When was the last time you had a proper night's sleep? Nathan rubbed his tired eyes. Emily had been having nightmares again, waking up screaming about the men in suits coming back. He'd spent most nights sitting by her bedside until she fell back asleep. I'm managing fine, Nathan insisted, though he knew he looked haggard. Are you though? Scarlett's voice carried gentle concern. Nathan, you're a successful businessman, not a child psychologist. Emily needs specialized care from people trained to handle severe trauma cases. From the living room came the sound of Emily's quiet voice as she played with her dolls. creating elaborate scenarios where the little girl doll was always protecting others from bad people. The federal agents think she's doing well here, Nathan replied. Scarlett leaned closer, lowering her voice. But Nathan, think about this rationally. You've become emotionally attached to this child, which could cloud your judgment. What if your involvement actually impedes the investigation? What if Emily needs to remember more details, but she's too comfortable here to push herself? Nathan felt a stab of uncertainty. Emily had indeed become quieter about her memories lately, seeming more focused on feeling safe than on recounting traumatic details. Furthermore, Scarlett continued, have you considered the legal liability you're assuming? If something happens to Emily while she's in your care, if the criminals connected to her case target your home, you could be held responsible. Agent Chen assured me, Nathan began. Agent Chen can't guarantee your safety, and she certainly can't shield you from civil liability. Scarlett pulled out her phone, showing him news articles. Look at these cases, well-meaning civilians who got involved in federal investigations and lost everything when things went wrong. Emily appeared in the doorway, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. Nathan, can you help me reach the crackers? I'm hungry. Of course, sweetheart. Nathan moved toward the kitchen, but Scarlett stood as well. Let me help, she offered with practiced warmth. Emily, you're such a brave little girl. It must be hard being away from everything familiar. Emily accepted the crackers but didn't thank Scarlett, instead returning to Nathan's side. When are we going to see Agent Chen again? She asked. Tomorrow morning, Nathan replied. Good, Emily said firmly. I have more things to remember to tell her. After Emily returned to her dolls, Scarlett shook her head sadly. She's so young to carry such heavy burdens. Nathan, children her age need stability, routine, normal childhood experiences, not federal agents and witness protection protocols. She's been through something terrible. Scarlett, she needs time to heal. Exactly my point. Can she truly heal while she's constantly being reminded of the trauma? While she's living with someone who, however well-intentioned, represents the adult, the world that failed to protect her initially? Nathan felt doubt creeping in. Was he really helping Emily, or was his emotional attachment potentially harmful to her recovery? I'm not saying you should abandon her, Scarlett continued gently, but perhaps it's time to consider whether the kindest thing might be transitioning her to a specialized facility with trained professionals, people who know how to help children process trauma without becoming emotionally compromised themselves. That evening, after Emily went to bed, Nathan found himself staring out at the Denver skyline. Scarlett's words echoing in his mind. Was his attachment to Emily clouding his judgment? Was he keeping her with him for her benefit, or for his own? From down the hallway came a small voice. Nathan, are you okay? I heard you pacing. Emily stood in her doorway in her pajamas, looking impossibly small and vulnerable. I'm fine, sweetheart. Go back to sleep. But as Emily returned to her room, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that his certainty about what was best for her was beginning to crumble. Scarlett's visits became more frequent and her arguments more persuasive. She arrived that Friday evening, with takeout from Nathan's favorite restaurant and a bottle of wine, creating an atmosphere that felt dangerously like their old relationship. I've been researching specialized facilities, she announced, spreading brochures across his coffee table while Emily played quietly in her room. Look at this one in Colorado Springs Sunshine Haven. They specialize in children who've witnessed violent crimes, round-the-clock psychiatric care, art therapy, peer support groups. Nathan studied the glossy brochures, feeling increasingly torn. The facilities looked professional, warm, designed specifically for children like Emily. Nathan, you have to think about Emily's long-term development, Scarlett pressed, pouring wine into 2 glasses. She's becoming too dependent on you. What happens when the trial ends and she has to integrate back into normal life? You've essentially become her whole world. Is that necessarily bad? Nathan asked, though doubt gnawed at him. It's not healthy. For either of you. You've put your entire life on hold, your business, your social life, your future relationships. And Emily, she's living in an artificial bubble. She needs to learn to trust other adults, to build resilience beyond her attachment to you. From Emily's room came the sound of muffled crying. Nathan started to get up, but Scarlett gently caught his arm. Let her cry, Nathan. She needs to learn to self-soothe. If you rush to comfort her every time she's upset, you're actually preventing her from developing crucial coping mechanisms. Nathan hesitated, torn between his instinct to comfort Emily and Scarlett's seemingly professional advice. The crying continued for several minutes before finally stopping. "See," Scarlett said softly. She calmed herself down. "That's progress." But Nathan felt sick to his stomach. Emily had never cried alone before. She'd always sought comfort when nightmares struck. "There's another issue we need to discuss," Scarlett continued, her voice taking on a more serious tone. "The security risks. I've been quietly consulting with some colleagues who handle federal cases. Nathan, the criminal network Emily can identify has resources you can't imagine. Private security firms, corrupt officials, international connections." She pulled out her phone, showing him news articles about witnesses who'd been killed despite federal protection. "This penthouse, this routine you've established, tits, predictable, asterisk vulnerable. If they want to eliminate both of you, they know exactly where to find you." Nathan's blood chilled as he read the headlines. "Federal witness found dead despite protection. Crime network eliminates key testimony. Family of 4 killed in witness protection safe house." "Agent Chen hasn't mentioned these risks," he said weakly, "because she can't guarantee your safety, and admitting that would compromise the investigation." "Nathan, you're not just risking your own life, you're risking Emily's. At a specialized facility, she'd have professional security, multiple escape routes, trained staff who know how to handle threats." Emily appeared in the doorway, her face tear-stained and puffy. "Nathan, I had another nightmare. The one where they come back for us." Nathan's heart broke seeing her distress, but Scarlett's words echoed in his mind. Was keeping Emily close actually making her more vulnerable? Was his emotional attachment blinding him to the very real dangers they faced? "Come here, sweetheart," he said, opening his arms. But as Emily curled against him on the couch, Nathan noticed Scarlett watching them with an expression that seemed almost satisfied. "Nathan," Emily whispered, "in my dream, someone who looked like our friend was helping the bad people find us. Someone with yellow hair who smiled wrong." Nathan glanced sharply at Scarlett, but she was innocently reviewing the facility brochures, seemingly oblivious to Emily's words. "It was just a dream, Emily," Nathan said, but his voice lacked conviction. Later that night, after Emily had finally fallen asleep and Scarlett had left with promises to help him think through his options, Nathan stood in his kitchen staring at the facility brochures. Everything Scarlett said made logical sense, so why did his gut tell him something was terribly wrong? From Emily's room came a small voice. "Nathan, I know you're thinking about sending me away. Please don't listen to the lady with yellow hair. Please." Nathan's world tilted. Emily wasn't asleep. She'd heard everything. The next morning arrived grey and heavy, matching Nathan's mood. He'd barely slept. Emily's whispered plea echoing in his mind. Over breakfast, she was unusually quiet, picking at her cereal while stealing worried glances at him. "Emily," Nathan began carefully, "we need to talk about what you heard last night." She set down her spoon and looked at him with those impossibly mature eyes. "You're going to send me away, aren't you? To one of those places with the pretty pictures?" Nathan's chest tightened. "I'm considering what might be best for you, sweetheart. What if Scarlett is right? What if I'm not equipped to help you heal properly?" Emily's face crumpled. "But I don't want to heal if it means losing you. You're the first person who ever made me feel safe." Before Nathan could respond, his doorbell rang. Scarlett arrived with coffee and pastries, her timing seeming deliberately calculated to interrupt this difficult conversation. "Good morning, you too," she said brightly, noting the tension immediately. "Oh, have I interrupted something important?" "Nathan thinks I should go live somewhere else," Emily said bluntly, her voice hollow. Scarlett's expression shifted to one of gentle understanding. "Oh, Emily, honey, nobody wants to hurt you. Nathan is just trying to do what's best for your future." "My future was supposed to be with him," Emily replied, her voice growing stronger. "I told him the first night I was going to take him with me to safe places, but now he doesn't want to come." Nathan felt like his heart was being torn apart. "Emily, it's not that I don't want." "Listen, sweetheart," Scarlett interrupted, kneeling. To Emily's level, sometimes adults have to make hard decisions to protect children, even when those decisions hurt. Nathan cares about you so much that he's willing to sacrifice his own happiness to give you the professional help you need. Emily studied Scarlett's face intently. "You want me gone?" "That's not true, Emily. I want what's best for you." "No," Emily's voice became eerily calm. You want me away from Nathan. You've been trying to separate us since the day you came back. Scarlett's mask slipped for just an instant, a flash of something cold and calculating before the concerned expression returned. Emily, you're upset and not thinking clearly. I think very clearly. Emily cut her off. I had to survive the monsters. And you feel like them. Nathan watched this exchange with growing alarm. Emily's instincts had been right about everything so far. The Blackwoods, the danger, even sensing the federal raid before it happened. Nathan, Scarlett said, standing and moving closer to him, this is exactly what I've been worried about. Emily is becoming possessive, paranoid. She's starting to see threats where none exist. This level of attachment isn't healthy for either of you. Nathan looked between Scarlett and Emily, feeling pulled in two directions. Scarlett's arguments were logical, professional, convincing, but Emily's fear was raw and genuine, and her survival instincts had kept her alive when adults had failed her. I think, Nathan said slowly, we need some space to figure this out as a family. Family. Scarlett's voice sharpened slightly. Nathan, you're not her family. You're a temporary guardian in an extraordinary situation. The longer this continues, the harder it will be for everyone involved. Emily stood up from the table, her small frame rigid with determination. Nathan, I need to tell you something important, but not in front of her. Emily, Scarlett's voice took on a warning tone. It's not appropriate to keep secrets from the adults trying to help you. The monsters taught me that some adults pretend to help while they hurt you. Emily replied, her voice steady despite her obvious fear. I know the difference now. Nathan made his decision. Scarlett, I think you should leave. Emily and I need to have a private conversation. Scarlett's composure cracked slightly. Nathan, you're making a serious mistake. This child is manipulating you, using your emotions against your better judgment. Please leave, Nathan repeated firmly. After Scarlett left, slamming the door harder than necessary, Emily collapsed into Nathan's arms, sobbing. I told you I'd take you with me, she cried. But I didn't mean you'd have to choose between me and everyone else. I'm sorry I ruined your life. Nathan held her tight, finally understanding that his decision wasn't about what was professionally recommended or logically sound. It was about a promise made by a dying child in a blizzard, and the trust that had grown between them since. Emily, he whispered, you didn't ruin my life, you saved it, and I'm not going anywhere. In the days following Scarlett's departure, Nathan should have felt relief, but instead, a strange emptiness settled over the penthouse. Emily, though grateful for his decision to keep her, seemed subdued, carrying a guilt that no 80-year-old should bear. You lost your friend because of me, Emily said one evening, as they sat on the couch, her usual spot curled against his side, feeling somehow distant. Scarlett wasn't really my friend, sweetheart, Nathan replied, though he couldn't shake his own doubts about the decision he'd made. But she was important to you once. I saw it in your face when she first came. Emily's voice was small, careful. Maybe she was right about me being too attached. Nathan looked down at her, seeing the careful way she held herself as if she was trying to take up less space, be less of a burden. It broke his heart. The apartment felt different too. The joy that had slowly been returning to Emily's eyes had dimmed. Her laughter, which had been becoming more frequent, stopped entirely. She still did her puzzles and colored her pictures, but mechanically, without the growing contentment Nathan had been so proud to witness. Even her drawings changed. Where before she'd begun sketching happy scenes, the safe house with the dog, families holding hands, now she returned to the dark, angular figures she'd drawn in those first hospital days. Images of children alone, separated from the adults. Who cared about them? Emily, Nathan said one morning, watching her push eggs around her plate without eating. Are you happy here? She looked up at him with those two-eyes eyes. Are you happy, Nathan? Really happy? The question hit him like a physical blow. Was he happy? He'd chosen Emily over Scarlett's logical arguments, but the weight of that decision pressed down on him daily. Scarlett's words echoed constantly. Was he really equipped for this? Was his emotional attachment helping Emily or harming her? I'm happy when you're happy, he said finally. Emily studied his face for a long moment. That's what Helena used to say to Marcus when she wanted him to do something he didn't want to do. Nathan felt a chill. Emily. That's not I know you're different, Emily interrupted gently. But Nathan, what if the pretty lady was right? What if I am making you choose between me and everything else that could make you happy? Nathan watched Emily retreat into herself, becoming smaller and quieter each day. She stopped asking for help reaching things, stopped seeking comfort when nightmares woke her, stopped sharing the random observations and questions that had begun to bring light back into her world. But one evening, Nathan discovered Emily in her room, packing her few belongings into the small suitcase they'd bought for her clothes. "What are you doing, sweetheart?" "Getting ready," she said matter-of-factly. "I think I should go to one of those places with the nice pictures, the ones where kids like me learn how to be normal again." Nathan's heart shattered. "Emily, I don't want you to go anywhere, but you're not happy anymore. Nathan, I can see it, and I can't be the reason you're sad." She folded a small shirt with careful precision. "The pretty lady was right about one thing. I don't know how to not need you, but maybe if I learn how, we can still be friends sometimes." Nathan knelt beside her bed, watching this child who had already sacrificed so much, survived so much, preparing to sacrifice again for his sake. "Emily, look at me." She turned, and Nathan saw his own reflection in her eyes, tired, conflicted, weighed down by responsibilities he'd never asked for, but couldn't abandon. "You're right," he said quietly. "I haven't been happy, but not because of you, sweetheart. I've been unhappy because I let someone make me doubt what I knew was right." Emily tilted her head, listening. "I've been unhappy because I started questioning our family instead of protecting it." For the first time in days, Emily's face showed a flicker of hope. Our family, Nathan confirmed. "You and me. And maybe someday, a dog like in your pictures." Emily's careful composure finally cracked, and she threw herself into Nathan's arms. As he held her, Nathan realized that Scarlett's greatest manipulation hadn't been her logical arguments. It had been making him doubt the profound rightness of the bond he and Emily had forged. But even as Emily clung to him, Nathan couldn't completely silence the voice in his head that whispered, "What if Scarlett was right about everything else?" The revelation came through Nathan's business partner, Marcus Rodriguez, during what should have been a routine financial review. They were sitting in Nathan's office downtown, going through quarterly reports when Marcus frowned at his laptop screen. "Nathan, there's something odd here. Your ex-fiancée Scarlett Morrison, isn't she the one who's been visiting you lately?" Nathan looked up from Emily's latest drawing, which she'd given him that morning before he left for work. "Yes, why?" Her consulting firm, Morrison Legal Strategies, received 3 large payments in the past month, all from shell companies. Marcus turned his laptop around. "I only noticed because our security software flags unusual financial patterns in our network. These payments totaled nearly $50,000. Nathan's blood chilled. $50,000 for what kind of consulting? That's what's strange. The payments are coded as family law consultation and child welfare assessment. But the source companies— Marcus pulled up another screen. "They're registered to addresses that don't exist, funded through accounts in the Cayman Islands." The Cayman Islands. Nathan remembered Emily's frantic drawings from the hospital, the numbers and names she'd scribbled while recounting overheard conversations. Cayman accounts, offshore transfers. "Marcus, I need you to dig deeper into those shell companies. Find out who's really behind them." "Already on it." Marcus's fingers flew across the keyboard. "Nathan, one of these companies, Meridian Holdings, was incorporated just 2 weeks after the Blackwood arrests. And look at this." The screen showed a web of financial connections, companies linked to companies in an intricate maze. At the center of it all were names that made Nathan's stomach drop. Associates of the Hope Children Foundation, people connected to the very network Emily was set to testify against. "She's been paid to spy on us," Nathan whispered, the full scope of betrayal hitting him like a physical blow. His phone buzzed with a text from Scarlett. "Had some thoughts about Emily's situation. Can we talk tonight?" Nathan stared at the message, his mind racing. How much had Scarlett learned during her visits? She'd seen Emily's drawings, heard fragments of their conversations with Agent Chen, observed their daily routines. She knew their security protocols, their schedules, even Emily's emotional triggers. "Marcus, I need you to contact Agent Chen immediately. Tell her we may have a security breach." That evening, Nathan sat in his living room with Emily, trying to act normal while his world crumbled around him. Emily was working on a puzzle, humming softly the first time she'd hummed in days. "Nathan," she said without looking up from her puzzle, "I had another one of my feelings today. What kind of feeling, sweetheart? The kind that kept me alive with the monsters. Something bad is coming, but it's not coming from outside. Emily looked up at him with those unnaturally perceptive eyes. It's already inside, pretending to be safe. Nathan's phone rang. Agent Chen. Mr. Crawford, we need to talk immediately. Can Emily stay with a neighbor while we discuss some urgent developments? Emily, Nathan said carefully. Agent Chen is coming over. Why don't you take your puzzle to your room for a little while? Emily gathered her puzzle pieces, but paused at the doorway. Nathan, the bad feeling is getting stronger. Don't trust anyone who smiles too much tonight. 20 minutes later, Agent Chen sat across from Nathan with a grim expression. We've been monitoring communications related to the Blackwood case. This afternoon, we intercepted a coded message that mentioned the package location, confirmed an elimination scheduled for this weekend. Nathan felt the room spin. They know where Emily is. We believe so. But Nathan, the message originated from a phone registered to Scarlett Morrison. She's not just gathering information, she's actively coordinating with the remaining members of the criminal network. The betrayal cut deeper than Nathan had imagined possible. Scarlett hadn't just manipulated him, professionally she'd manipulated his emotions, exploited his trust, and used his love for Emily against both of them. We're moving you both to a secure location tonight, Agent Chen continued. But Nathan, I need to know, how much did Scarlett learn about Emily's memories? What specific details did she have access to? Nathan tried to remember every conversation, every moment Scarlett had been near Emily. She heard Emily mention drawing numbers and names. She knew about the federal protection. She observed our routines, our security measures, and Emily's testimony. What might Scarlett know about what Emily plans to tell the grand jury? Nathan's heart sank as he realized the full scope of what Scarlett had access to. Everything. She knows everything. From Emily's room came a small voice. Nathan, is it time to run again? As Nathan looked toward Emily's doorway, seeing her small silhouette clutching her stuffed rabbit, he understood that his choice to trust Scarlett hadn't just been wrong. It might have signed both their death warrants. Nathan's hands trembled. As he ended the call with Agent Chen, the safe house arrangements would take hours to coordinate, but Scarlett was expecting to visit that evening. The trap was closing, and Nathan realized he had one chance to protect Emily. He had to face Scarlett directly and find out exactly what she'd shared with the criminal network. Emily, he called softly to her room. We need to pack some things. Sweetheart, she appeared instantly, as if she'd been waiting. The bad people found us, didn't they? We're going to be safe. But yes, we need to leave tonight. Emily nodded with the calm acceptance of a child who'd learned that safety was temporary. It was the pretty lady, wasn't it? The one who smiles wrong. Before Nathan could answer, his doorbell rang. Through the security monitor, he saw Scarlett holding a bottle of wine and wearing her most charming smile. Nathan's blood boiled at the calculated performance. Emily, go to your room and stay there no matter what you hear. Agent Chen is sending people to help us, but until they arrive, you hide. Nathan opened the door, forcing himself to appear normal. Scarlett swept in with her usual confidence, completely unaware that her cover had been blown. Nathan, darling, you look terrible. The stress of this situation is really taking its toll. She set down the wine and studied his face with fake concern. Have you given any more thought to our conversation about specialized facilities? Actually, I have, Nathan replied, moving to position himself between Scarlett and the hallway to Emily's room. Tell me more about your research into those facilities. Scarlett's eyes lit up with what she mistook for victory. Well, I've been in contact with several administrators. There's one facility in particular that could take Emily immediately. Riverside Haven in Nevada. Very discreet, very secure. Secure from what, exactly? Nathan asked, watching Scarlett's face carefully. From all the dangers you've been worried about. The criminal network, the media attention, the ongoing legal complications. Scarlett pulled out her phone, showing him official-looking documents. I've actually taken the liberty of beginning the transfer paperwork. All you need to do is sign. Nathan stared at the documents, realizing the full scope of Scarlett's betrayal. She wasn't just gathering information, she was actively working to deliver Emily to the very people who wanted her dead. How much are they paying you, Scarlett? Her smile faltered for just an instant. What do you mean? The offshore accounts, the shell companies. $50,000 to manipulate me into giving up Emily. Scarlett's mask finally slipped completely. The warm, concerned expression vanished, replaced by cold calculation. You always were too smart for your own good, Nathan. So it's true. You're working for them. I'm working for people who understand that some problems need permanent solutions. Scarlett's voice became businesslike, professional. Emily represents a significant threat to very powerful people. Her testimony could destroy legitimate businesses, ruin innocent families connected to the Blackwood network. Innocent families. Emily is 8 years old. Emily is a witness to activities she doesn't understand, making accusations that could destroy lives. Scarlett moved closer, her voice taking on a persuasive tone. Nathan, the people I represent aren't monsters. They're business people who made some questionable choices, but don't deserve to have their entire lives destroyed by the confused memories of a traumatized child. Nathan felt sick. She's not confused. Everything she remembered was accurate. Was it? Or did federal agents plant ideas in her head? Did you reinforce false memories by encouraging her to remember details? Scarlett pulled out a legal document. Nathan, I can offer you a way out of this. Sign the transfer papers, and you walk away with a clean conscience and a substantial financial compensation for your trouble. You want me to hand Emily over to be killed? Scarlett's expression hardened. I want you to be realistic about a situation that's spiraling beyond your control. Emily has served her purpose. The main players are already in custody. Continuing this charade only puts you both in unnecessary danger. From the hallway came a small sound, Emily's door opening slightly. Nathan prayed she was staying hidden as instructed. And if I refuse? Nathan asked. Scarlett's smile returned, but now it was genuinely cold. Nathan, you're already in deeper than you realize. Your phone calls, your meetings with federal agents, your decision to harbor a federal witness, it's all been documented. The people I work for know exactly how to make problems disappear, and they've decided that both problems need to be solved tonight. Nathan's blood turned to ice. Both problems. You've become too attached, too protective. You know too much. About Emily's testimony, about federal procedures, about ongoing investigations. Scarlett shrugged elegantly. They can't risk letting either of you continue. At that moment, Nathan realized that Scarlett hadn't come to persuade him, she'd come to confirm their location and keep them occupied until the real threat arrived. From outside, Nathan heard the distant sound of vehicles approaching his building. Sound of approaching vehicles sent adrenaline coursing through Nathan's veins. He had seconds to act before Scarlett's associates arrived to solve their problem permanently. Emily, he shouted toward the hallway. Emergency plan. Now. Emily appeared instantly, clutching her stuffed rabbit and the small emergency bag they'd prepared weeks ago on Agent Chun's advice. Her face was pale but determined. She'd clearly heard enough of the conversation to understand the danger. Scarlett lunged for her phone, but Nathan knocked it from her hands, sending it skittering across the hardwood floor. You're not warning anyone, he snarled. Nathan, you're making this much harder than it needs to be, Scarlett said, her voice taking on a dangerous edge. They're already here. The building is surrounded. There's nowhere to run. Through his windows, Nathan could see black SUVs positioning themselves around the building's exits. Professional, coordinated, deadly. These weren't street criminals. They were military-trained operatives with the resources to eliminate witnesses without leaving traces. Emily tugged on Nathan's sleeve. The service elevator, she whispered, like we practiced. Nathan had hoped they'd never need the escape route. Agent Chen had insisted they established the freight elevator that connected to the building's underground parking garage, accessible only with a special key the FBI had provided. Scarlett, listen to me, Nathan said desperately, as he guided Emily toward the kitchen where the service elevator was hidden behind a panel. These people you're working for, they're going to kill you too. You know too much now. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Scarlett's features. That's not. They promised to pay you. And they did. But now you can identify them, connect them to Emily's location, testify about their methods. Nathan's voice was urgent as he input the code to access the hidden elevator. Scarlett, they're not going to leave any loose ends. You're a loose end. The distant sound of the building's main elevator ascending made Emily grab Nathan's hand tighter. They're coming, she whispered. Scarlett seemed to realize the truth of Nathan's words as footsteps echoed in the hallway outside his apartment. Heavy, professional footsteps that belonged to people who solved problems with violence. Nathan, she said, her voice suddenly small, what have I done? You chose money over a child's life. Nathan replied as the service elevator doors opened, but it's not too late to choose differently. Scarlett looked toward the apartment door, then at Emily's terrified face, then back at Nathan. For a moment, her mask of calculated professionalism completely disappeared, revealing the woman Nathan had once cared about. My phone, she said suddenly. There's a recording app. I've been documenting everything for insurance purposes. Names, payment schedules, operational details. Nathan felt a surge of hope. Were cloud storage, password protected. Scarlett pulled out a piece of paper, scribbling frantically. Give this to your FBI agent. It's everything, the whole network, not just the people connected to Emily's case. The sound of the apartment door being picked came from the front hallway. Come with us, Nathan urged, holding the elevator door open. Scarlett shook her head. They're tracking my phone, my car, probably my credit cards. If I come with you, they'll find you faster. She looked at Emily with something that might have been genuine remorse. Emily, I'm sorry. You were right about me from the beginning. Emily studied Scarlett's face one last time. You can still choose to be good, she said simply. The apartment door burst open as Nathan and Emily disappeared into the service elevator. Scarlett stood alone in the kitchen, facing armed men who had expected to find 3 targets instead of 1. As the elevator descended, Nathan heard Scarlett's voice, surprisingly strong. Gentlemen, I think we need to discuss the terms of my employment, particularly the part about eliminating witnesses. She's buying us time, Emily whispered. Yes, she is. Nathan's phone buzzed with a text from Agent Chen. Safe house compromised. Emergency extraction point activated. Blue sedan, underground garage, northwest corner. As the elevator reached the parking garage, Emily looked up at Nathan. Do you think the pretty lady will be okay? Nathan thought about Scarlett facing armed killers alone, finally choosing to protect rather than betray. I think she's doing the right thing for the first time in this whole mess. Sometimes, Emily said quietly as they ran toward the blue sedan, people have to lose everything before they remember how to be good. Nathan realized that Emily, despite everything she'd endured, still believed in redemption. Asterisk, even for someone who had nearly destroyed them both. The sedan's engine was already running, Agent Chen behind the wheel with relief written across her face. As they sped away from the building, Nathan pulled Emily close, finally understanding that protecting her meant more than just keeping her safe. It meant preserving her remarkable ability to see the possibility of goodness even in people who had failed her. 1 year later, Nathan stood in the gleaming lobby of the Emily Patterson Foundation for Child Protection, watching as congressional representatives toured the facility that had become his life's work. The foundation wasn't just another charity, it was a revolutionary approach to protecting children who witnessed crimes, combining safe housing with therapeutic support and legal advocacy. Mr. Crawford, Agent Chen, approached with a familiar, warm smile. She's here. Through the lobby's glass doors, Nathan saw a federal SUV pull up. His heart raced as he watched Emily step out. No longer the terrified 8-year-old he'd found in a blizzard, but a confident 9-year-old who carried herself with quiet strength. Emily lived now with the Morrison family specialists in witness protection foster Kareen, a secure location 2 hours from Denver. The arrangement allowed her to have a normal childhood while maintaining the protection she still needed. The criminal network had been dismantled, but caution remained their watchword. Emily ran across the lobby and into his arms, her stuffed rabbit now somewhat more worn but still beloved, tucked under one arm. How's my girl? Nathan asked, lifting her up despite her protests that she was getting too big for such things. I got an A on my book report, Emily announced proudly. It was about brave people who save other people. Mrs. Morrison said I could write about real heroes I know. Nathan's throat tightened. And who did you write about? You silly Agent Chen. And Emily's expression grew thoughtful. And Scarlett. Scarlett had survived that night, though barely. Her testimony had been crucial in dismantling the entire criminal network. She was serving reduced prison time in exchange for her cooperation, but more importantly, she had found a kind of peace in finally telling the truth. Is she still helping other kids? Emily asked. Yes, sweetheart. She's working with prosecutors to help other children who've been in situations like yours. Emily nodded approvingly. Good. People should get chances to fix their mistakes. They walked through the foundation's halls. Emily, chattering about school, her foster family, and her excitement about today's special visit, the first unsupervised time they'd been allowed to spend together. "Nathan," Emily said, as they sat in his office, "remember what I told you that first night, about taking you with me?" "I remember everything you told me that night." Emily grinned, the expression transforming her face with pure joy. "Well now, I know what I meant. I was going to take you with me to safe places, where kids don't have to be scared, where people choose to protect instead of hurt." She gestured around the Foundation's offices, where counselors worked with young witnesses, where legal advocates fought for children's rights, where a revolution in child protection was taking root. "This is the safe place, isn't it?" Emily asked. "The one we built together." Nathan looked out his office window at the Denver skyline, thinking about the terrified CEO who had stopped for a child in a blizzard, never imagining that saving her would actually save him. "Yes, sweetheart. This is exactly the safe place you promised to take me to." Emily curled up in the chair beside his desk, pulling out a new drawing. It showed a man and a girl standing in front of a building full of children, all of them smiling, all of them safe. In the corner of the picture, she'd drawn a small dog. "Next year," Emily said confidently, "Mrs. Morrison says we might be able to get that dog we talked about. Would you like to meet him when we do?" Nathan smiled, understanding that Emily had kept every promise she'd made. She had taken him with her to a place where love meant protection, where choosing to be good mattered more than being safe, and where the end of one story was just the beginning of another. "Emily," he said, "I'd be honored to meet our dog."